Most horror don't start with screaming. They start with polite voices, apologies, and a stranger insisting you made a mistake. One night outside Walmart, someone tried to turn my kindness into a doorway. I'm lucky I understood the trick 2 seconds before it closed. My name is Leon. I'm 33 now, but this happened when I was 27. Back then, I thought danger was obvious. Raised voices, chasing footsteps, dark alleys. I didn't know predators could sound patient, relaxed, even embarrassed. And worst of all, I had no idea they practiced. It was a quiet Thursday night in early fall. The air felt cool and dry, like someone had turned the humidity off. The sunset had melted into that deep blue just before real darkness. I remember thinking how peaceful it looked above the Walmart parking lot. Kids sat in a minivan eating fries. A couple argued playfully about snacks. Trucks rumbled far away on the highway. Inside, I wandered slowly. I had the next day off, and being surrounded by bright aisles made me feel productive. I grabbed a new phone charger, a bag of apples, and some allergy meds. Nothing big, nothing stressful. I took my time. At the self-checkout, a woman 2 stations over dropped her receipt. I picked it up without thinking and handed it back. She smiled. Small kindness, small moment. I didn't realize someone was watching how easily I responded to strangers. I bagged my items, scanning that glowing screen one final time. The store wasn't busy, 8, maybe 10 shoppers. The sliding doors washed the floor in that greenish light from the parking lot lamps. I pushed my cart ahead and started toward my car. Right outside, under the overhang, sat a man in his late 30s, medium build, baseball cap, clean jeans. He held a plastic Walmart bag like he'd bought something. He leaned against the wall, scrolling his phone. Nothing suspicious. He looked up and smiled politely. "Hey man," he said, nodding at my cart. "I think you accidentally grabbed my wallet at self-checkout." I frowned. "What?" He stepped closer, still smiling. "The woman who dropped her receipt? Your bag brushed the counter. I think you swept my wallet in there by mistake." My gut wobbled. It seemed impossible, but embarrassment poked at me. What if I had? "I didn't see one," I said. "It might be under your items," he replied, calm, reasonable. "No big deal, just check." He waited, eyes soft, posture loose. No aggression. If anything, he looked uncomfortable. I opened my bag, pawing through apples and a charger. No wallet. I shrugged. "Not here." He leaned a little closer. "It could be between the bags. Plastic sticks to leather sometimes." He sounded like a guy who understood static cling, like a helpful shopper solving a weird accident. But then something pricked the back of my neck. His tone wasn't confused. It was rehearsed. He glanced over my shoulder. "We shouldn't block the doors. Let's step over here." He gestured toward the darker outer corridor between Walmart and the garden center, where cameras rarely point. That was red flag 1. I hesitated. He smiled wider, like we were both embarrassed about nothing. "Just 2 seconds, he promised. "If it's not there, I apologize." Social pressure. Politeness. I almost folded. We stepped deeper into the corridor. The automatic doors whooshed behind us, muffling sound. I could see the parking lot, but nobody could see me. The fluorescent lights didn't reach this far. It felt like being behind a curtain. He pointed at my bag. "Open the bottom." I crouched slightly. My wallet was tucked in my pocket, and I patted it just to be sure. Still there. Why would I have his? As I shifted, I felt his shadow move. Closer. Too close. Red flag 2. A faint cough sounded behind me. I turned slightly. Another man, hoodie pulled up, leaned casually against the concrete wall. He pretended to tie his shoe, glanced at me, then at my cart handle, then at the empty walkway leading toward the loading docks. His eyes weren't bored, they were measuring. Red flag 3. The first man cleared his throat gently. "Maybe dump the bag out. Plastic hides stuff." That voice. Too calm. He wasn't frantic about losing his wallet. He wasn't angry. He wasn't nervous. He was patient. My heartbeat thumped. I looked back toward the glass doors. Through the reflection, the store lights glowed bright and safe. A teenage girl pushing mop buckets laughed with a coworker. The contrast made our dark hallway feel wrong. I said, "Let's grab an employee." His face tightened. "No need." Behind me, the man tying his shoe stood up silently. That was when the pressure in my skull switched from embarrassment to survival. I stepped backward, pushing my cart sideways between us. "I'm sure you dropped it somewhere else." His jaw flexed. "Just check." "It's not here," I said, louder. The second man took one step forward. Lightning fast, the first man moved. He reached for the plastic loop of my cart, fingers curling. My stomach flipped. He wasn't grabbing the bag. He was anchoring the cart, pinning me to the spot. I jerked backward and rammed the cart forward, smashing his hand against the wall. He hissed through his teeth. "You're overreacting," he snapped. That polite mask cracked. I yelled, "Help!" My voice echoed weirdly in the covered walkway. Through the glass, the mop kid paused, confused. Another second passed, one horrible, sliding second where nothing happened, and then she shouted something to her coworker. The second man lunged like he was trying to grab my backpack strap. I twisted out of range, slipping onto the wet concrete. My elbow stung. My bag tumbled, apples rolling. The first man muttered, "Grab him." Grab. Not, "Get the wallet." Not, "Wait." Just grab. My vision tunneled. I kicked my cart toward the second guy, wheels squealing like something alive. He stumbled. The first guy cursed, shaking his crumpled hand. Store employees burst outside, yelling. A father with his kid pointed from the parking lot. Someone pulled out a phone. When light hits cockroaches, they scatter. Both men turned at the same time in speed, controlled panic. They fast walked along the wall, past the camera blind spot, toward the side parking row. Not running. Running draws eyes. Walking says, "We belong here." I scrambled up, chest burning, and stumbled inside. My whole body trembled. Employees ushered me to the security room. A manager asked if I was okay. My answer came out in pieces. They rewound the footage. The first man stood near self-checkout for 8 full minutes without scanning anything. He watched shoppers, watched gestures, watched who responded to mistakes. The second man paced near the exit, occasionally whispering into his sleeve. No visible phone. He stared at the side corridor every 30 seconds. When I bent to help the woman with her receipt earlier, his posture shifted, like a hunter seeing prey identify itself. Police arrived. They replayed the footage twice. The officers asked if either man touched me. "Almost," I said. One nodded grimly. They escalate physical contact slowly. First with the cart, then backpack, then arms, then shoulders. They try to move the victim deeper into the blind zone. Blind zone. The word felt surgical. "They'll apologize the whole time," the officer added. "They weaponize politeness. If you react, you look guilty." I swallowed hard. He pointed at the screen. "If you dumped your bag, you'd have bent lower. Vulnerable shoulders. They'd grab your arm or cover your mouth. Same story last month. Woman went missing." Silence. "What happened to her?" I whispered. He didn't answer. His eyes said everything. I drove home shaking, checking mirrors every 20 seconds. I thought that night was over. It wasn't. 3 days later, while walking to my car at work, I noticed something new hanging from my door handle. A cheap brown wallet. Empty. No ID, no cards. Just an address card with 4 words. "Check your bags again." My throat tightened. I looked around the lot. Nothing moved, no footsteps echoed. But someone was close enough to touch my car. Close enough to leave a message. Police took the wallet. They dusted for prints. They found nothing. Weeks passed. I switched grocery stores, shifted my routine, parked near the doors. But every time someone politely asked, "Could you help me with Gestaktures Cure?" my pulse fractured. Months later, an officer called. They'd found camera footage from another city. Same men, same ruse. The local victim vanished from a parking lot corridor between stores. That case is still open. Now, when someone says I made a mistake with their item, or dropped something, or they need just a second, I feel heat crawl up my neck. Because I learned something I didn't want. Predators don't drag you screaming into darkness. They ask you politely to step toward it, yourself, and most people do. These stories changed how I see the world. I scan every parking lot now, and I don't ignore small alarms in my brain. Predators don't always look dangerous. They look patient, polite, and harmless right up until they take a step too close. If you ever feel watched, trust that feeling. Share your experiences in the comments so others learn the patterns. Stay alert, stay safe. Bright lights don't mean safety. Cameras don't mean protection. One night after a simple Walmart run, I learned how fast a stranger can turn a normal routine into a nightmare, and how organized some kidnappers really are. My name is Marissa. I'm 31 years old, and this happened 2 years ago in late spring. I work at a nursing home, the overnight shift. My nights blur together, coffee at 2 a.m., paperwork at 4, then exhaustion by sunrise. On days off, I fix my sleep schedule by walking around Walmart. It sounds weird, but wandering those bright aisles makes me feel awake again. That Tuesday, the weather was warm, the air heavy with humidity. Storm clouds stacked like gray pillows overhead. I arrived at Walmart around 8:20 p.m. It wasn't dark yet, but the sky looked bruised. The parking lot was half full. People rushed inside before the storm broke. I told myself I'd only grab cat food and toothpaste. I shouldn't have lingered. Inside, everything felt ordinary. Crying toddler in grocery, self-checkout beeping, the hum of fluorescent lights. I walked slow, enjoying the air conditioning. When I passed the automotive aisle, I heard someone behind me say, "Excuse me." I turned. A man stood there, early 40s maybe, tall, bald, with a polite smile. His gray hoodie was pulled tight around his neck. He held a can of motor oil in one hand. "Do you know if this works for older Hondas?" he asked. I laughed awkwardly. "Sorry, I'm not sure." He stared too long, like he was memorizing my face. His eyes flicked to my cart, then to the aisles around us, calm but scanning. "Have a good night," I said, pushing away. That was the first red flag, too friendly, too focused. I walked to pet supplies. While comparing cat food brands, I caught his reflection in the shiny bag of litter. He stood at the aisle's end, almost hidden by a display, pretending to read a label, but he wasn't looking at anything except me. Another shopper squeezed past and the stranger vanished. I convinced myself it was nothing. When I headed to checkout, I saw him again, 3 lanes over, standing behind a woman with a full cart. He wasn't buying anything. No basket, no cart. Just that same can of oil dangling from 2 fingers. His eyes met mine. He smiled slowly. My heartbeat kicked up. I tried to ignore him and joined the self-checkout line. As I scanned items, I saw movement in the corner of my eye. The man leaned against a pillar behind me, scrolling on his phone. He wasn't discreet. His gaze flicked from the screen to me every few seconds. I bagged fast. When I walked toward the exit, he stayed behind. Didn't follow. Relief washed through me. Maybe he was just awkward. Outside, the storm had finally begun, thick raindrops smacking asphalt. People ran to their cars. The sky was purple-black. I pulled my hood up, pushed my cart across puddles, and tried not to look around too much. The parking lot lights buzzed like angry bees. My car sat 4 rows out. I tapped the unlock button, hearing the faint chirp. I opened my back door to toss the bags inside. A voice behind me said, "Need a hand?" I stiffened. It was him. I spun, forcing a weak smile. "No thanks. I'm good." He stepped closer. "Rain's really coming down. Trunk sticking? I can help." My trunk wasn't open. Then I saw it. 2 other men standing near a van 3 spaces away. Black cargo van, tinted windows. One leaned against the side casually, hands in pockets. The other pretended to check his phone. They weren't shopping. They were watching. I turned to my car door. The man's voice sharpened. "Your tire's low. Let me show you." He reached for my elbow. That's when I jerked away and yanked my door open. He grabbed the edge of the door, stopping it from closing. "Relax," he muttered. Rain dripped down his face. His grip was strong, too strong to be casual. I shoved with all my weight. His hand slid, but he jammed his foot between the frame and door. My panic exploded. "No!" I screamed. That got attention. A father loading groceries 2 rows over turned toward us. The man gripping my door instantly changed his expression, concerned, gentle. "Ma'am," he said loudly, "you forgot your receipt. I tried to tell you." He looked like the helpful stranger. I looked unhinged. "I don't know you," I shouted. The father hesitated, unsure who to believe. The man leaned closer, voice low. "Get in the van and you won't get hurt. Now." My throat dried. The father finally shouted, "Hey, leave her alone!" The 2 by the van started walking fast toward us. Lightning flashed behind them. Cars hissed by on the wet asphalt. I did the only thing I could. I slammed my car's panic button. My horn shrieked. Lights flashed. Everything turned chaotic. The stranger flinched. His calm mask cracked. "Shut it off," he hissed. Instead, I screamed louder. The father ran toward us. The man finally stepped back, hissing something angry under his breath. The 2 near the van froze, then turned casually like nothing had happened. They strolled back, climbed inside, and the van sped off with headlights off. My knees buckled. I stumbled into the driver's seat, shaking. The father banged on my window, shouting, "You okay?" "Ma'am." I nodded frantically and locked every door twice. Security came rushing out. Someone had already called 911. I tried not to cry, but everything trembled inside me, like my body was still bracing for a hand on the back of my neck. Inside the store office, officers questioned me. They pulled camera footage. The man had followed me for almost 30 minutes, staying 2 aisles away, always keeping shelves between us. The other 2 entered 9 minutes after him, never grabbed anything, stood by the exit the whole time. Organized, calculated. Police asked if I recognized any of them. I didn't, not at first, but when they showed me footage from the week before, my stomach dropped. The same bald man stood near the Starbucks kiosk entrance, staring at a woman. She left alone. That woman had been reported missing. The officers didn't say much more, but their eyes told the story. And then an officer asked a chilling question. "Did he touch you? Even briefly?" I said yes. "He touched my elbow." The officer nodded grimly. "That's testing compliance." Testing. My skin crawled. Over the next few weeks, detectives contacted me twice. They asked more questions about how the man spoke, how he grabbed, how he smiled. They said they believed a group was traveling state to state, organized abduction attempts, parking lots, late evenings, mostly women alone. Not random, planned. The newspapers reported nothing. Walmart made no comment. The cameras caught only partial plate numbers, fake. Surveillance blackouts masked the exact moment the van pulled in. I quit shopping alone at night. It felt like something broke inside me, like the world's edges got sharper. The nursing home felt safer than my apartment. Too many locks, too many windows. 3 months later, police called again. A woman from another county went missing from, where else? A Walmart parking lot. Her cart was still beside her car. Her groceries sat inside. The camera angle missed everything important. It was the same model van. She hasn't been found. Last week, something new happened. I walked out of Walmart with a group of shoppers, broad daylight, and headed to my car. A small business card was tucked under my wiper. Blue letters. Mobile tire assistance. We notice what's wrong. On the back, a handwritten note. You did need help. My vision tunneled. I dropped the card on the pavement and backed away, my legs locked. I never told anyone this part. The handwriting was the same shape, the same angles, as the missing woman's last social media post. The police showed it to me during questioning. Someone's keeping souvenirs, someone's circling back. Now I shop with coworkers, bright hours, crowded days. I check every shadow behind me, every quiet car with tinted windows. I look at headlights in my rear-view mirror longer than I should, because the terrifying part isn't that they tried to kidnap me, it's that they weren't finished. They were practicing. Not every missing child is real. Sometimes the only thing missing is the stranger they're trying to isolate. I found that out in a Walmart parking lot when empathy became the hook someone tried to drag me with. My name is Ryan. I was 28 when this happened, living alone in a quiet suburb outside Louisville. Back then, I thought I was street smart. I avoided dark alleys, kept my doors locked, and minded my business. But I learned a hard truth. You don't have to be careless to be targeted. You just need to be kind in the wrong moment. It was late spring, warm enough that Walmart kept the outer doors cracked to let heat escape. I stopped by after work around 9-10 p.m. to pick up motor oil, a frozen pizza, and allergy pills. The sunset still clung to the sky, glowing orange behind the building. Kids darted between carts. A couple argued over which cereal to buy. Nothing seemed strange. Inside, the aisles pulsed with low hums, freezers clicking, employees slamming boxes open, scanners chirping. I grabbed my items, headed toward checkout, and felt normal, safe. After surviving years of night shifts at gas stations, Walmart felt harmless by comparison. But as I rolled toward self-checkout, a short woman with a ponytail and a frantic expression almost ran into my cart. "Have you seen a little boy?" she blurted. "Red shirt, blue shoes. He's 5. He ran off. Please." My stomach tightened. Lost kid situations freeze something deep in you. Every decent instinct jumps to the surface. "No, sorry," I said, "but I'll keep an eye out." She darted to another shopper, repeating her question. The panic in her voice sounded real. People turned. Concern rippled. I paid, bagged up, and pushed out into the warm evening air. Outside, under the buzzing greenish lights, another man paced near the cart return. Clean cut. Glasses. He held a smartphone like he'd been calling. "You seen a little boy?" he asked before I even reached my trunk. "Red shirt? Blue shoes?" My gut twitched. Different messenger. Same script. He pointed toward the far end of the lot. "We think he ran that way. Past the garden center. There's a gap in the fence." He sounded helpful, but rehearsed. He added, "We're just asking strong adults to check around the back. It's faster in a group." Not just helpful, strategic. Red flag 1. I opened my trunk, loading bags, pretending to think. My heart thudded. My brain split into two voices. "Help them." "D. Don't go somewhere dark." Behind me, the automatic doors whooshed. The ponytail woman emerged, now calmer. Too calm. She spotted me and hurried over. "Did he ask you?" she asked, smiling like we shared a secret. Her demeanor had changed, a shift from frantic parent to casual recruiter. Red flag 2. "Please," she urged, "just a quick sweep near the loading ramp." I hesitated. "Shouldn't we tell employees?" Her smile dropped a fraction. "We don't want to bother them. They get annoyed." Wrong answer. Employees would want to know immediately. They'd lock doors and call Code Adam. Everyone who works retail knows that protocol. Red flag 3. She stepped slightly between me and the store doors. The man in glasses drifted on my other side, blocking the simplest path away. Not aggressively, just filling space. Boxing me in. "Red shirt, blue shoes," she repeated softly, almost like a hypnotic phrase. I kept a calm face and scanned their movements. No keys, no ID, no radios, no photo of the boy. They didn't shout his name. Panic had evaporated too fast. They weren't searching. They were steering. "Look," I said, voice steadying. "I'll get an employee." "No," the man cut in sharply. "They don't care. It's faster this way." His kindness mask cracked. She pointed toward the dim outer lane behind the garden center. "Just 5 minutes." Her eyes glittered in a way that didn't match worry. My heart punched my ribs. Something inside screamed, "No." I stepped back. They mirrored me. "Sir," she said lower, voice cooling, "just come look. We need help." Her phrasing shifted. No longer suggestion. Command. A door clanged open behind the garden center. A tall guy in a worn jacket appeared, holding something small and folded. He lifted it slightly like a signal. Red shirt. My blood froze. He wasn't holding a kid shirt. He was showing it, like bait. Red flag 4. The woman said quietly, "See? He must have dropped it." Her fingers touched my elbow, lightly, but that touch sent adrenaline raging through me. Fight or flight isn't cinematic. It's sudden nausea, blurred vision, and a taste like metal. My legs tensed. "I'll tell staff," I said firmly. The man with glasses stepped to block my trunk from closing. Subtle shift, sudden weight in the air. "We don't need staff," he insisted. His voice was stern now, not worried, not emotional. This wasn't about a child. I shoved my trunk down fast. It clipped his wrist. He yelped, surprised, stumbling back. I didn't wait. I walked loud and direct toward the entrance doors. Not sprinting. Sprinting invites pursuit. Just brisk, confident, almost angry. Inside, a greeter frowned. "Everything all right?" I shook my head, words tangled. "Those people outside. Lost kid story. Sending shoppers behind the building." He stiffened. "Wait here." He radioed back immediately. Within seconds, 2 employees headed out with flashlights. A manager followed. I stayed at the threshold, watching through the glass. The ponytail woman and glasses man didn't run. They walked calmly to a white van near the back row, lights off. The tall man dropped the red shirt into a tote bag, hopped in. The van rolled away smooth. No panic, no hesitation, routine. Police showed 20 minutes later. I gave descriptions, voice shaking. They nodded grimly. "A group fitting that description attempted something similar last week," one officer said. Same script. Another officer asked, "Did either one touch you?" I swallowed. She touched my elbow. He exhaled. "They test compliance through touch. If you don't physically recoil, they escalate." I had recoiled. Barely. The police checked cameras, but the back lane was in a blind spot. The white van plate was muddy, unreadable. Door dash cam caught nothing. They asked me if I'd been followed before. I didn't think so. Until 3 nights later. I left work around 11:30 p.m. The parking lot was empty. As I started my car, headlights flicked on across the lane. A white van, same shape, same dented bumper corner. It pulled out slowly. I gripped the wheel. My stomach churned acid. I didn't drive home. I drove to a well-lit Taco Bell lot. The van idled across the street for 15 minutes, just sitting, watching. Then it rolled off. I barely slept. The next night I checked outside my duplex windows constantly. At 3:14 a.m. I saw movement near my trash cans, just a silhouette. When I blinked, it was gone. I filed another report. Weeks crawled. Anxiety clung like wet cloth. I changed routes, changed stores, always parking under lights, always scanning for vans. Then one cold Saturday morning, I found something hanging off my front doorknob, a tiny toddler shoe. Red, my vision tunneled, my knees buckled. I called police with shaking hands. They bagged it, fingerprinted it, no matches. An officer told me quietly, "They leave small items to gauge your reaction. If you panic publicly, they back off. If you freeze quietly, they escalate." I wanted to be sick. Months passed, new locks, new routines, always scanning mirrors, always checking behind me in reflections. But predators don't forget patterns, they map them. Last Thursday, grocery shopping in daylight, I turned down an aisle for pasta sauce. Far down the aisle, a woman with a ponytail compared jars, different clothes, different hair color. But as she turned, I saw her face. Older, hair dyed, but unmistakable. Our eyes met. Recognition flickered. She smiled casually and walked away. I abandoned my cart and left immediately, heart detonating in my throat. When I reached my car, a folded note was tucked under the wiper. 6 words, sharp, simple, cruel. Still looking for the little boy. I drove away shaking, because there was never a little boy, only bait. And they're still practicing. I never thought Walmart would teach me more about predators than movies or news ever could. But danger doesn't always shout. It whispers with polite voices, friendly faces, believable stories. Since then, I've changed my habits forever. I park under lights. I never follow strangers into blind zones. And I trust the alarms in my chest even when they embarrass me. Share your own experiences. Someone might learn from them. Stay alert. Stay safe. Some people hunt in crowds. They don't chase you with weapons. They lure you with opportunity. I learned that the night a stranger offered me a job at Walmart and tried to walk me out of the building alive, but not necessarily back. My name is Danielle. I was 26 when this happened. I'd recently lost my office job. Rent was suffocating me, and I felt hollow from constant rejection emails. By then, my self-esteem was paper thin, and predators love paper. It was a Wednesday evening in mid-September, humid air, parking lot shimmering under orange lights. I pulled in around 8:30 p.m. to grab cheap pasta, boxed soup, and printer paper to keep job hunting. The store looked calm, half full, but the kind of half where people moved quietly, avoiding eye contact. Something about the fluorescent buzz felt louder than usual. Inside, I wandered past clearance aisles, feeling invisible. Shoppers brushed past. Employees nodded without looking. I grabbed my items and headed toward checkout. That's when a tall man in a blue button-down shirt stepped into my path. Early 40s maybe, clean haircut, decent shoes, clipboard in hand. "Excuse me," he said warmly, smiling. "You look like someone who works hard. Can I ask, are you currently looking for employment?" My heart jolted. It was like he'd read my mind. I nodded cautiously. Yeah, actually I am." "Great," he said, pulling a pen from behind his ear. "Our retail logistics company is opening a new distribution center. We're hiring for management and support roles. Starting pay around $25 an hour." My jaw tensed. 25? That was almost double what I'd ever earned. My brain clung to the number like a drowning hand grabbing rope. He gestured to an aisle. "Let's step aside so we're not blocking anyone." Red flag 1, moving the victim. But I followed anyway, slowly, into an empty section between office supplies and seasonal decor. He asked normal interview questions. Strengths, schedule availability, previous roles. I answered, nervous, but hopeful. Every word came out too fast. Then he said, "You speak clearly." "That's rare. We'd like to schedule a quick interview tonight if possible." My stomach fluttered. "Tonight?" He nodded, tapping his clipboard. "We close one of the back offices here. We use Walmart space while the distribution site finishes construction. I can walk you there." Red flag 2, off-site interviews should always be scheduled through known offices, not random aisles, but desperation can blind you. He scribbled on his form. "Recruiting has been rough. We're thrilled someone competent walked in. Compliments, flattery, to lubricate compliance." He looked over his shoulder, then leaned closer. "Honestly, we don't advertise these roles online. Too many scams. The irony didn't hit me yet. He gestured again. Just 5 minutes. We'll do a preliminary conversation. Nothing intense. I swallowed. Can I see a website? We're still building it, he said smoothly. You're early. That's good. Red flag 3. No digital footprint. Let's head through the back, he said, motioning toward the employee corridor near gardening. I hesitated. The corridor was dim, silent, away from cameras. He read my hesitation instantly and softened his voice. We can stay up front if you prefer. Safer, no pressure. His awareness of safety, offered up front, disarmed me. My shoulders eased. Okay. We moved toward customer service instead, where 2 employees chatted. That felt better. He leaned on the counter, friendly. Anyone scheduled for receiving interviews tonight? One employee shrugged. No idea, we're short-staffed. The other scanned his badge. Recruiters come by sometimes. Not helpful. He turned to me. See? We're legitimate. My brain misinterpreted the noise of the building as reassurance. He led me toward a small seating area where Walmart sometimes sets up seasonal displays. No people, minimal cameras, quiet. He gestured to a chair. Sit. Relax. I perched at the edge. He sat opposite, clipboard angled so I couldn't see what he wrote. Transportation? He asked. Reliable access? Yes. He scribbled. Great. We actually do training off-site. 1 town over. Training off-site, late interview, no website, clipboard, red flag 4. What company did you say again? I asked. He smiled gently. Trade Vest Logistics. Generic. Too generic. I asked, do you have an ID badge? He checked his pockets. Forgot it in the truck. Long day. Forgotten credentials. Classic. My heart slowed. Something foggy in my head sharpened. What truck? I asked. He blinked. Too slow. In the lot, he said vaguely. I'll walk you there after we're done. Walk me. To his vehicle. Red flag 5. The building's hum felt louder, like my survival instincts finally snapped awake. He straightened. Let's step out now. We'll talk more near the loading area. Quieter. There it was. Move further from cameras. Blind zones. Noise cover. I stood, pretending to stretch. Actually, I need the restroom first. That's fine, he said quickly. Too quickly. He pointed at the hallway behind toys. Women's is down there. I'll wait. Trapping point. He placed himself between me and the store exit without seeming to. I walked past him calmly. Halfway down the hallway, I darted into the restroom. The moment the door swung shut, I shook all over. I texted my friend. Some guy offering job. Feels weird. He's waiting outside bathroom. She wrote back instantly. Do not leave alone. Inside, 2 older women washed hands. I approached them, voice shaking. There's a man outside trying to get me to go somewhere for an interview. Their eyes widened. One whispered, stay with us. We walked out together, 3 abreast. The man waited near the hallway entrance, leaning on the wall. When he saw the women, his posture changed, slight tension in the jaw, tiny frown. Oh, he said, forcing a smile. We moving? He wanted isolation. Strength in numbers ruined scripts. One woman said loudly, we're escorting her to customer service. His smile cracked at the edges. No need. The older lady leaned closer to him, voice icy. She said no. His eyes hardened, like a glass pane cooling instantly. I'll wait by the register, he muttered. He didn't. We watched from customer service as he walked out the automatic doors without looking back. A manager approached. We explained everything. They worked at retail long enough to look unfazed, but deeply angry. Security pulled footage. My stomach churned as we watched. He entered alone. No cart, no purchase. He scanned the front area, lingering near job boards. He approached 4 different women before me, all alone. Each time his pitch was shorter, more polished. Rehearsal. Then came the camera outside. He walked to the far corner of the lot, into a blind spot, then re-emerged with 2 other men. They waited by a dark SUV, engine running, back door cracked open. My blood chilled. They were positioned so I would walk between the vehicle and a concrete pillar. Police were called. The SUV had no plates. The men dispersed when officers arrived, strolling casually, hands empty. One slipped into a different vehicle. Another pretended to talk on a phone. They were like fog rolling off pavement, dissolving into anonymity. No confrontation, no panic. organized, calculated. 2 officers questioned me gently but urgently. Did he ever ask about living alone? About transportation? About money? Yes. Those questions create vulnerability profiles. They gave me pamphlets, real ones, about job recruitment scams used for trafficking. I almost vomited. Over the next 2 months, nightmares tangled my sleep. Interviews terrified me. I never walked into Walmart alone again. But it wasn't over. One afternoon, coming home from the grocery store, I saw a folded piece of paper wedged in my apartment door. My keys slipped. My hands trembled. On the paper, "We can complete your interview now." No company logo, no contact info. Just those words. Police couldn't identify fingerprints, gloves, or wiped clean. I moved 6 weeks later. Different building, different routine, different town. I hadn't stepped foot in a Walmart since. Last week, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. No greeting, no punctuation. "We still have positions open." I deleted it, blocked it, then sat shaking on the floor for 20 straight minutes, staring at my dead phone screen like it was a window. Because the scariest part of being targeted, you're not chosen by accident, you're profiled. And once you're in a predator's memory, they don't always erase you. Sometimes they save you for later. These events changed everything about how I move through the world. I don't follow strangers anymore, and I don't let desperation blind me. Real opportunities have paperwork, scheduled calls, badges, references, and digital footprints. If someone pressures you on the spot, it's not ambition, it's a trap. Share your own run-ins in the comments. Someone else might need the warning. Predators don't always grab you out of the blue. Sometimes they box you in, quietly, slowly, until there's no space left to breathe. This is what happened when 2 strangers used grocery carts to trap me outside Walmart. My name is Marcus. I'm 32 now, but when this happened 4 years ago, I was 28, freshly single, and living in a small apartment across from a Walmart supercenter. It was my comfort zone. Bright lights, busy aisles, and the illusion of safety. It was a Sunday night in late November. Cold enough that you could see your breath, warm enough that people still lingered outside talking. I'd spent the whole day cleaning and wanted to reward myself with a frozen pizza and a new pair of headphones on sale. Inside, everything felt normal, loud, comfortable. Employees restocking Christmas lights, a toddler screaming about candy, that familiar ding of checkout scanners. I didn't feel eyes on me. Not yet. I grabbed my items and headed to self-checkout. A tall man in a beanie stood behind me, hands shoved in the pockets of a long coat. He didn't take a basket, didn't shop, just stood there. When I tapped my card and lifted my bag, he leaned slightly forward, not close enough to complain, just close enough to be aware of my space. "Excuse me," he said, voice smooth, friendly. "Can you hold the door outside? My hands are full." I glanced at his empty hands. Red flag one, but I forced a polite smile anyway. "Sure." I rolled my cart toward the exit. The automatic doors slid open with that familiar whoosh and blast of cold air. I stepped outside. That's when things shifted. A second man, mid-30s, gray hoodie, pushing an empty cart, angled his path diagonally like he was avoiding someone. He glanced at me once, then twice, a little too long. Red flag 2. I pushed my cart across the walkway and toward my car. When I turned to grab something from my trunk, both men were suddenly closer, one behind me, one off to my right. Nothing aggressive, just positioned. "You dropped something," the man in the hoodie said, pointing to the ground behind my car. I looked. Nothing was there. "I don't see anything," I said. He shrugged. "Maybe it blew under." I felt pressure, not physical, but psychological, to check. Social instinct, politeness. I crouched down slightly. He leaned forward too. My heartbeat stuttered. The other man's cart squeaked as he pushed it closer, narrowing the gap between vehicles. Not enough to notice if you weren't looking, enough to reduce escape space. I straightened quickly. "Anyway, have a good one." Both men smiled too wide, like they were waiting for me to ask a question that would anchor me. I unlocked my car and tossed my shopping bag inside. Before I could close my trunk, the beanie man pointed at the cart return area. "You mind helping?" "Helping what?" He stepped back so I'd follow his gaze. "Just a second. There's another cart stuck. I can't fit my car." That didn't make sense. His car wasn't anywhere near the return stalls. Red flag 3. I shook my head. "Sorry, in a hurry." He exhaled. Not frustrated, calculating. The gray hoodie man stepped back too, resting hands on his hips, scanning the parking rows like someone surveying terrain. I decided not to make eye contact, slid into my car, and hit lock immediately. Beanie Man knocked lightly on my window. 3 taps, evenly spaced. "Just 1 second. Please, it's quick." Hearing pressure words, "just, please, quick," all at once made something crawl up my spine. I shook my head no, mouthing the word firmly. His smile flattened. He stepped sideways, blocking the driver door. Gray hoodie wheeled his empty cart behind my bumper. That's when adrenaline kicked the fog out of my skull. They weren't asking for help. They were closing exits. I put the car in reverse slowly, pretending not to panic. My rear tires nudged the cart slightly. He rolled it forward again, smirking. Trapped. A couple walked by with 2 kids. Both men turned instantly casual, looking at shelves of DVDs stacked by the entrance display. Predators freeze when witnesses appear. As soon as the family passed, they resumed position. "What's the problem?" Beanie Man asked, voice quiet. "Nobody's gonna hurt you." That sentence, unprompted, is always the wrong sentence. I flicked my headlights on high. The flash startled them. Both shielded their eyes instinctively. I jerked the wheel right, squeezed the car between their carts, and heard scraping on my paint. They didn't chase. They didn't shout. They watched. Predators memorize plates. My throat locked as I sped toward the main road, heart hammering so hard my teeth hurt. 2 blocks away, headlights appeared behind me. Familiar shape, same bright and dim left headlight. They followed. No turn signals, no lane change. Just behind me. Close. I took 4 random turns. They mirrored each one. My palms burned with sweat. I dialed 911. "White sedan following me from Walmart," I choked. 2 men blocked my door. The dispatcher told me to drive directly to the nearest police station parking lot. I did, hard, fast, stomach twisted like rope. The sedan tailed until I could see the lit-up police sign. Then it peeled off silently, calm as a whispered threat. 2 officers met me outside. I gave descriptions, shaking. One said quietly, "Parking lot predation. Very organized. They trap people between cars using carts." They showed me footage later. The 2 men weren't shopping. They entered separately, then regrouped inside between aisles. They scanned people leaving alone, especially ones who looked tired, distracted. They followed 4 other shoppers first, backing off if the shopper was on the phone or walked confidently. When they saw me crouch to check the ground, one gestured subtly with his hand. A signal, a choreography. That moment, that bend, is when most victims are grabbed. They study angles. The officer explained something that stayed with me. When predators block your exits, they're practicing control. They escalate based on how you react. I reacted with hesitation. For the next month, every time I locked my door, I triple-checked. But 2 weeks later, it escalated. One night, coming home from work, I noticed shopping carts jammed against my apartment's entrance gate, not blocking it fully, just obstructing. You'd have to step aside into shadow to move them. Neighbors hadn't done it. Kids wouldn't drag multiple carts uphill. Someone wanted me to move them alone, at night, facing outward. I didn't touch them. I called police again. They found zip ties on one cart's handle, tucked under the plastic. One officer whispered to the other, "Same pattern." My stomach dropped. They recommended different routes, better lighting, not shopping alone at night. Months passed. Fear dulled, but didn't disappear. One morning on my windshield, under my wiper blade, I found a single printed receipt, Walmart, on the back, written in pen. "Next time, don't run." No signature, no date. I moved apartments within the week. Started buying groceries midday. Avoided parking lots entirely after sundown. My friends teased me at first, until they saw the receipt. Now, when someone taps on my window, I don't roll it down. When someone says, "Just 1 second," I walk. When someone tells me nobody's going to hurt me, I leave. Because I learned something about real predators. They don't chase you screaming through darkness. They surround you quietly, in the light, blocking one path at a time, smiling while the exits disappear. And they practice until the next person doesn't run. These encounters changed every habit I have. How I park, how I walk, when I shop, how I respond to strangers. It's not paranoia when patterns are repeated by organized people. Trust your instincts, even if they feel rude. Share your own experiences in the comments. It could teach someone else the signs. If you found these stories useful, subscribe to the channel so more people can learn how to spot danger before it closes the door.